Hello, friends. I'm going to be talking about cultivated meat in the context of population growth. If you're interested in an overview of the cultivated meat, click here. And if you're curious about the science and health benefits, click here. But let's get into why this technology is looking like it might be more environmentally and socially responsible to conventional animal agriculture. Let's start with some big picture facts. By the year 2050, the population of the planet Earth is projected to reach over 9 billion people, which is about 2 billion more people than we currently have. With about 900 million people already not getting enough food, it not only becomes a challenge, but a crisis. During all of this, something else has been drastically changing about our diets as well. Since 1960, global consumption of meat has quadrupled, but the population has just over doubled what it was. So, what's happening here? Why are diets across the globe changing so profoundly? We have to understand that a lot of this has to do with wealth and privilege. Meat is a lot harder to grow than plants, requiring way more time and resources. For a long time, this meant that only rich people were able to eat meat, or that it was a treat for special occasions like holidays. Yet, as Western countries, and countries in the global north overall, got richer, more people wanted to enjoy the luxuries typically associated with the wealthy, and one of the easiest ways to do that was meat eating. While it feels common to have bacon on a breakfast sandwich, a deli meat sandwich for lunch, and chicken for dinner, the standard of meat at every meal, or even once a day, is wildly new and unprecedented, and only exists in very well-off countries. More than that, the privilege comes from being able to choose meat. When you think about it, raising an animal from birth to slaughter requires a lot of resources: grazing land, drinking water, and energy, plus a lot of time, to name a few. And of course, it takes so much food to raise an animal. Let's take the most extreme example: beef. A fully grown cow often weighs over 1,000 pounds. This requires immense resources such as feed, water, and healthcare. When I think about this compared to how much food my 30-pound dog eats when his primary job is napping, it starts to put that into perspective. The process of creating meat is not only super inefficient, but in fact, there are many less calories that come out of it than go in. Currently, only 55% of the food grown is fed directly to human beings. The rest is fed to agricultural animals to produce meat, milk, and eggs. Furthermore, only a fraction of those calories are actually turned into the food humans eat, the rest going into the maintenance of the animals producing them. This means that for every 100 calories of grain we feed animals, we only get about 40 new calories of milk, 22 calories of eggs, 12 calories of chicken, 10 of pork, or 3 of beef. The resources we are using to grow this food to feed animals could be changed to grow food to feed the millions of humans who go without enough food. Today, consumption of meat in Canada isn't actually increasing overall, and in some cases is decreasing. But the worrying issue is the precedent we and other Western countries have set. Now, as other countries continue to develop, they're looking at the benchmarks we use to define wealth and status while seeking to emulate them by eating more meat, just like we did 50 years ago. This isn't the fault of developing countries. The fault is on wealthy nations for setting and following an unsustainable precedent. So, what does that leave us? The Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, the FAO, estimates by the year 2050 there will be a 73% increase in egg and meat consumption, as well as a 58% increase in dairy consumption worldwide. Is this even possible? Think about how many resources that's going to require, while usable land and other key resources continue to decrease in availability due to climate change. There is already so much pressure on the food system as it stands. Not only will it need to grow to accommodate 2 billion more people, but also vastly increase the amount of food to feed animals. This is where new innovations like cultivated meat come in. I would highly recommend watching our video on the science behind what cultivated meat is, but I'll do a very quick recap. The technology uses starting cells from an animal and then gets them to multiply and grow until it eventually becomes meat. This avoids many of the resources and time needed to grow an animal into a full-grown adult, and the bacteria and diseases involved in raising animals. Let's be clear that there's a lot that needs to be done. We need to address massive inefficiencies in the agricultural system, like food waste, and ensure that the food we are producing is nutritious, that it contributes to a healthy diet, and addresses many global challenges. Yet, with the demand for meat being so high, cultivated meat will be especially important. It can act as a direct substitute by being the same product as conventional meat, but is much better for the environment, our individual health, and won't need the resources used to grow animals. Cultivated meat can help ensure that every person receives adequate amounts of food, which should be the basic requirement of our global agricultural system. So, let's do a quick summary. The global population is growing quickly, and we're already not feeding all these people who are here. Alongside that, meat consumption has exploded in the last 60 years, setting an unprecedented standard and causing many countries to change their diets to try to achieve this. This has meant we are using more and more resources for agriculture than ever before, and millions continue to go hungry. But hope is not lost. Developments like cultivated meat are happening as we speak. In Singapore, Eat Just has already been given regulatory clearance. A restaurant in Israel is already allowed to serve the product. As it provides such a direct substitution, it's a great way to help address the demand for meat without all of the awful environmental, health, and ethical concerns. We need to be paying attention to this technology and making sure it has the funding, dedicated academic support, and public will for it to succeed. We need to remember that regardless of where someone is born, that every human life is valuable and worthy of fulfilling basic needs. We, as individuals, have the ability to change ourselves to see this value upheld.